I think he just left. He'll probably be back momentarily. But Aziz is also now helping me bottom line the Judicial Accountability Program as well. Um, but before we get started, I'm going to give a little background on the program, the origins, and where we are today currently with the program. So the program launched officially in August of 2020 with the help of our Democracy Corps Fellows, now alum. And the purpose of the program was to collect data on gender and racial bias in the courtrooms. We bring in new volunteers to help us collect data and grow our partnership with Chicago Appleseed to analyze the data for future judicial evaluations. Appleseed then will synthesize the data and will produce this, turn them to reports to produce them to the public as a means of public education around the current environment in the courtrooms. As some of you may or may not know, judicial accountability really kicked up around 2017-18, and in the past 2 to 3 years, 2 judges have been removed after not happening for about 40 years or so. The data essentially could also be used to support some of our judicial legislation, which we'll touch on towards the end of today's training. And all in all, how's the program going so far? There are now officially over 200 volunteers that have signed up for the program. And yeah, we host monthly trainings. We do one-to-one trainings for people that can't, make these monthly trainings. And, in them you learn how to fill out the evaluation form and how to identify what it is that we're looking for specifically in the courtrooms, how to navigate through the rooms, locating judges, so on and so forth. I see Aziz just pop in. I'll let him introduce himself before we jump into the training, because he'll also be helping me facilitate today as well.
Hello, everyone. My name is Aziz. I work with Chicago Votes as a judicial accountability leader, and I'm helping Brian X run the court watching program.
For sure. Thank you, Aziz. I'm going to share my screen now. Okay. Cool. All right. So again, thank you everybody for coming to our court watching training. So just jumping right into it, before you court watch, we'll be touching on some of the requirements, diving a little bit into inside the courtroom, a guide to virtual court, as well as our Unlock Civics policy platform rather. So requirements: in order to court watch, you must complete the following requirements. Fill out the court watching sign-up form, which a lot of you, if not all of you, have done, and then attend the court watching one-on-one training. Congratulations, we're here now. So inside the court, what we'll be touching on specifically, so facts about the county circuit court, how does someone become a judge in Illinois, voting for judges. We're going to be going through our judicial accountability evaluation form. And again, the 2 pieces of legislation that we have, we'll touch on. So about Cook County Circuit Court. The Circuit Court of Cook County in Illinois is the largest of the 24 judicial circuits in Illinois and one of the largest unified court systems in the world. It has about 400 judges who serve the 5.2 million residents of Cook County within the city of Chicago and its surrounding 126 suburbs. The chief judge of the Cook County Circuit Court is Timothy Evans. We won't go through this entire chart, but this is just a breakdown of the entire system as a whole, from the chief judge and down from that point. But we will go to this next one. So courtroom, who's who? So basically, who are the court actors that you'll be seeing most frequently in these rooms? So a defendant is a person or a group against whom a criminal or civil action is brought. Someone who is being sued or accused in a court of law. A public defender is a lawyer appointed by the court to represent a defendant who is unable to reasonably hire a private attorney to defend them in a trial. A prosecutor is a lawyer who conducts the case against a defendant in a criminal court in the interest of a victim or state. And lastly, Assistant State's Attorney's Office or State Attorney prosecutes criminal and civil cases in the interest specifically of the state in a legal proceeding. So they represent the state. Just some quick facts about this just some quick facts about the court. The court was created through a 1964 amendment to the Illinois Constitution, which recognized the courts of Illinois. And more than 2.4 million cases are filed every year. So keeping in mind, 400 judges, 2.4 million cases filed annually. So the types of bonds, we're gonna go over the personal recognizance / I bond, D bond, and then lastly, cash bond. So the personal recognizance or I bond is a commonly used type of bond where a person signs their way out of police custody or court under the condition that if they don't appear for court, they will basically pay the monetary amount of the bond. And then once the case is over, the bond is void and you do not have to pay any money for having a personal recognizance bond. A D bond is when a person has to post 10% of the actual bond amount. For example, if the bond is $1,000, then you have to post 100, so on and so forth. If the bond is 10,000, then you post 1,000. And then lastly, for a cash bond, this is where the court requires you to post cash in the actual amount of the bond. This is typically in civil cases where a person owes money on a civil judgment. But a cash bond is not used in criminal cases, and we will be in criminal courtrooms. And if anyone is wondering, where does the ending cash bail in Illinois come into play? That won't be rolled out. Well, it's being rolled out slowly, but it won't fully go into effect until 2023. Some parts of the bill will be implemented, but it's going to be about 2 years before that's fully in effect. So, how does someone become a judge in Illinois? These four right here: a countywide election, they are elected by a subcircuit, appointed to an interim vacancy, or they are elected by circuit judges. And so, when voting for judges, circuit court judges are elected for 6-year terms and must be retained by the voters every 6 years. The Illinois Supreme Court fills circuit judge vacancies between elections. Any court-appointed judges must go before voters at the next available primary and general election in even-numbered years. There are also associate judges elected by a secret ballot among the court's circuit judges. Okay. So a guide to virtual court. So to actually be able to get into the courtrooms virtually, you'll have to go to the Cook County Court website, cookcountycourt.org. And once you scroll down, you'll go to the criminal division and find the schedule for the month. So here is the schedule that they produce. I'm going to let Aziz come in and explain how this schedule works and then what his plans are for the schedule as it pertains to our volunteers moving forward. So Aziz.
Okay. So all calls begin at 9:30 a.m. and they all end at 1:30. Well, most of them end at 1:30. And so in week of November 26, November 2 to 6, November 6, you see all the way from the far left column, room 202 in the first row. It's going from Tuesday and Thursdays. And then the week of November 9 through 13, it's in a different column. It's in the third column, row 1, 202. And so it changes, it rotates every week. So it started off as Tuesdays and Thursdays, and then rotated from Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. And so every week they rotate for courtrooms. And it it goes like this for every what's it called, every room. So 202, 206, every room that's there, they rotate every week to Tuesdays and Thursdays. Next week would be Monday, Wednesday, Fridays. Then the week after that would be Tuesdays and Thursdays, and that goes for whatever room number is on here. And my plan for because this isn't pleasing to the eye, this isn't digestible. So my plan is to make this schedule very digestible, so you can look at this and your eyes wouldn't hurt, and you can know what courtroom to enter and what courtroom not to enter. And like with a click of the button, you'll be able to go into the courtroom without like struggling.
For sure, for sure. Thank you, Aziz. So for virtual court again, just to navigate the website, we're going to cookcountycourt.org. We're going to be clicking the live stream tab. It'll look something similar to the image projected right there. Excuse me. We'll be clicking a YouTube link, selecting the courtrooms. Now, everyone in this training and the entire court watching volunteer base receives monthly emails. And in those emails, you receive the courtrooms that we're observing for the month. You'll receive, you'll have direct links to the courtroom specifically. So in some cases, you don't have to go to the website to be able to do all of this. We'll already provide it in our monthly emails. You just stay tuned for those. But yeah, this is just a quick breakdown of how to, explore it for yourself. And so the Judicial Accountability Evaluation Form. So, sorry, 1 second here. I'm gonna stop sharing the screen. Elijah is here. So I'm going to go over the original court watching form that we've been using for this program up until this point. And next month, we do plan on rolling out a more updated version of it. I will, Elijah, if you wouldn't mind explaining what was the thought behind the new form to folks.
Sure. So with the new form, we're trying to focus on identifying issues with judge temperament and bias. So the categories, I mean, is it okay if I share my screen to make it like easier to see, or?
I'm sorry, one more time.
I could share my screen if it's easier to understand by.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Awesome. Here. All right, hopefully you can all see this. This is the court form that we are going to be rolling out next month. We're switching it to look at 4 aspects of judicial behavior: impartiality, temperament, communication, and administrative performance, as we believe, based on research of other states of judicial evaluation systems, these 4 topics will best tease out whether a judge is acting in a biased or unjudge-like manner. So you will get questions such as, under impartiality, was the judge fair? Was the judge factual? Was the judge unbiased? And the idea is to just tease out whether the judge is acting in an unbiased and fair manner. So, and by getting this data and evaluating it in a way, we can see if how judges are acting. So if a lot of judges are getting a disagree on the judge is fair, and therefore the impartiality score is very bad, that will let us know this judge is acting poorly. We should keep monitoring them. We should give them an improvement plan so they can become better. And we should notify the public and commissioners of an evaluation system that this is occurring. So that's the idea behind it. Look forward to it next month.
Sorry, I was muted. For sure, for sure. Thank you, Elijah. Okay, cool. So I'm going to bounce back to sharing my screen. Okay, yeah, for sure. So Elijah went over the schedule, and I'm just going to touch on our Judicial Unlock Civics platform. Um, so our first bill, Senate Bill 2437, the Jury Qualifications Act. This is sponsored by Senator Robert Peters, and the bill provides that no person who is qualified and able to serve as a juror may be excluded from jury service on the basis of previous criminal record. Why is this important? Well, 42% of the 42% of Illinois' population has a criminal record or arrest record, which can be impediment to the serving on a jury. The total population of Black males with a felony on their record is equivalent to 55% of the total state felony population. A goal of the bill is to have more diversity and representation in the jury selection. Judges remove Black jurors for cause about 20% more often than they remove available white jurors. Prosecutors remove twice as many potential Black jurors as white jurors, and the difference in the removal rates are different for urban and rural districts, with racial disparities larger on average in urban districts. So the other bill, Senate Bill 0563, the Judicial Quality Act, this bill is sponsored by Senator Omar Aquino. The bill ensures judges receive quarterly trainings regarding domestic violence, child abuse, racial bias in sentencing, cultural competency, and the impact of trauma on youth brain development. The bill also requires judges to hear live testimony from people who have been sentenced to 20 years or more on the impact of long-term sentencing and incarceration. So definitely this one is key. So just a little more information on the trainings. They are to be conducted quarterly, include the latest best practices from evidence based on peer-reviewed research, documenting showing the completion of classes to be available to the public upon request, and recorded with the Administrative Office of the Illinois Courts. So this way, you can follow up and see if you're observing some really interesting behavior from a judge in a courtroom. This bill would essentially allow you to be able to look up, have they been going to their quarterly trainings? Like, have they been, participating? Has their track record improved since they have been attending those trainings, so on and so forth. And lastly, the training is designed to improve the ability of the courts to recognize and respond to the impact, again, emphasizing responding to the impact of child abuse, domestic violence, racial bias in sentencing, and trauma on all victims, especially the youth. So I'm going to stop sharing. And if Katrina would like to give an update to the group on what is happening with the legislation currently, that would be great.
Yes, hello everybody. I'm Katrina. I'm the Communications and Digital Strategy Manager at Chicago Votes. And right now, so the two judicial bills, judicial quality was heard and voted on last week in committee. And so it passed out of committee and will be voted on in the Senate floor coming up soon. And then jury qualifications bill has yet to be voted on in committee. So it will be voted on, I believe, next week because the deadline for bills to be voted on in committee has been extended to April 16th. Originally, the deadline was today. So we still have plenty of time to get support from legislators and kind of build their momentum around those bills.
For sure. Thank you. I know that was a lot of information in a short amount of time. We can now open up the floor for any questions, as it pertains to the form, what's happening with the legislation, anything from the presentation as a whole.
Hi, my name is Isaiah. I just have a quick question. Is the the form that's being used now is the old form, and then it'll be updated next month, or is that right?
Yes. So I am also, I can show the old form now. The date is, let's see, it's March 26th. So yeah, this form will most likely, I can do the old form right quick actually then. It'll be used for about 2 more weeks. So cool, for sure. Give me 1 second, I'll share my screen again. One second. All right, cool. So if everyone can see my screen, this is the current evaluation form that we use. So we just, start off with simple things like the date and the time. The docket number, to my knowledge, and Elijah, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't believe is included in the newer form. But we,
Yeah, docket number is not going to be necessary.
for sure, yeah. And then we're taking down the courtroom number. So you input that here. We're also asking, is the visual feed working? So can you actually see what's happening? There have been a lot of times where volunteers have been court watching and the camera is turned off. You hear nothing but audio, and that can kind of, throw off the data that could potentially be collected. And it's not ideal. So definitely noting if the video was on and you were able to see all of the court actors, so on and so forth. Here, something that is staying, the judge's name. So you click here, you scroll down to whichever judge's room that you're in, you click on it, and then we're good with that. Let's see here. We also have the judge's gender, male, female, not sure or don't know. Also asking that you type the judge's name out physically. The judge's race, the attorney type. So public defender, private attorney, pro se, so no attorney or not sure. If it was a public defender that was in the courtroom, same deal as the judge's drop box or drop down, you just scroll through here. And if the public defender's name was mentioned, taking note of that as well. If they had an attorney, you can put the last name here and the first name here. We also are taking down the defendant's last name and first name. Was the defendant's race explicitly stated in the court? Then we take note of the defendant's race. The defendant language. So these are some of the other languages. If a language was being used that isn't, posted here, you just type it right there by other. And if there was a language barrier of some sort, was language access granted to the defendant? Yes, no, but it seems like they needed support. We definitely want to take documentation of that, take note of that, and then no, but they spoke English or did not appear to need a language. They didn't need language support. So if the defendant's age was explicitly stated in the court, what was the age? This is, again, you don't have to guess on this if it wasn't explicitly stated. Was the defendant's gender explicitly stated in the court? What's the defendant's gender? Female, male, not sure, or other. And then definitely taking note of if the defendant identifies as the gender that they have been called in the courtroom. And then was the judge presented context on the defendant's life outside of the case? So basically, was the judge told or, informed of any jobs, if they're in school, if they're involved in the community, if they're at a rec center, are they a parent, so on and so forth? Do they take care of someone in their family? So yes, no, and not sure. Did the judge share whether they had knowledge of the case? So again, the options for that, they did have knowledge of it, they looked over the case, or the judge was not prepared at all and they did not look over the case, or not sure because it was never explicitly stated. It is the defendant charged with a violent crime. So a violent crime, the victim is harmed by or threatened with violence. Violent crimes include cases of sexual assault, robbery, murder, and so on. And what is the lead or primary charge against the defendant? So same deal here with the drop-down options. We have a list of them right here. I'm going to tag in Aziz again, and Aziz can do the breakdown of these for you all.
Yeah, so a misdemeanor A, a class A misdemeanor, it basically means like it's the lowest amount of the lowest misdemeanor you can possibly get. Like you probably would just have to do community service and you wouldn't have to do time. And then as the classes go by further, class B, class C, it's like maybe 1 week, maybe 2. And then all the way to class, the felonies, those are like time. So you're doing time, and a class M felony, it's like the most amount of time you could possibly get, like it's murder. And so those are what it's like when you're classifying what type of crime the defendant committed, what they're being charged with.
For sure. Thank you. We'll also be taking down if the defendant has been convicted of a felony within the past 5 years. And then, you know, of course, the case outcome. So jail, electronic monitoring, bond, or they were released. We're not sure altogether, or if something completely different happened outside of what's listed right here, definitely take note on that as well. And if bond was granted, what type of bond was it? Again, we have the personal recognizance / I bond option, D bond, and then cash bond. But I don't believe that you'll be seeing a cash bond in these, in the rooms that we'll be in. And also, by the way, we're in 13 courtrooms now, in the Layton County Building, Daly Center, and then Bridgeview, in addition to the juvenile courtrooms. So if the defendant was sentenced to jail, how long was it? Options are here. And was the arresting officer present? Was a firearm found on the defendant's person? So that's going to mean, was it not just in the car, not in the trunk, or in the general vicinity of where they are? Was it physically on them somewhere? Excuse me, taking note of that. And then, was the smell of cannabis used as probable cause? Recreational use is legal here in Illinois. So to have someone be pulled over, stopped, or whatever, because the smell of cannabis was in the air, we decided to see what was going on over there. No, we're taking note of that for sure. Did the judge provide clear reasons for rulings or decisions with regard to the case management? Did the judge acknowledge that people were present during the hearing to support the defendant? Did the judge confirm that the defendant understood the proceedings and next steps? So this will be at the very end. And then lastly, anything that we did not have in any of our options above, definitely feel free to record, any additional impressions of your court watching that you feel, relevant to the assessment of the judge's performance as a whole. So for example, we have, do you feel that the judge gave proper attention to the case? Was the judge, transparent in his reasoning for determining the given sentences? How was the attorney's demeanor toward the defendants? Things of that nature, and then definitely be as detailed as you want. As you see, you can continue to just type and type and type. There are no restrictions on that section. Let's see. While I'm on this screen, I'm also going to show you all this one. This is just the Chicago Votes Court Watching Shift sign-up form. It's nothing too, nothing too long. We just need your name, your email, the day that you believe that you will be available to court watch, the courtroom number that you'll be going into. Again, you all will receive a list of the 13 judges and their courtroom numbers and how to access those courtrooms after this training. So it'll definitely be one of those 13. And then we have the shift time slots, so 9 a.m. up until 4 p.m. So you also will be receiving this link as well. And again, with this part, the date, we don't have a set like day that everyone court watches, not until we start to do the program in person, eventually when COVID is cleared up. But as of now, the program is being ran with volunteers just simply court watching when they have the availability to do so and basing it off of their personal schedules. You know, any little bit helps for sure. So definitely whenever you are available, feel free to sign up for a form. And then myself or Aziz will always be available for any questions that you all have about, you know, if you want to switch a day because something came up, if you have signed up for a date and a time, but you're logging into that courtroom and the camera isn't on, the audio's off, like it doesn't even look like anything is happening there. Definitely reach out and let us know about that as well, because that may just be, you know, as Aziz was explaining earlier, something, you know, revolving around the rotating schedule. So they may be in another room or they may not be in the room at all that day. So I'll come back here. For sure, for sure. So again, this form will, oops. Oh, sorry. Okay, so yeah, again, that form that we just went over, we'll only be using that for about 2 more weeks, again, tops. And yes, Janice.
Okay, that former form about, you know, all the hundreds of things we have to notice. As a court watcher in bond court in 2018, I remember that a case could be 30 seconds, a minute.
Mhm.
And to note all those things, and also sitting in the you know, where you in the stands where you could sit and watch, you could hardly hear the judge. So number one, will we be able to, and defendants usually mumble.
Right. Mhm.
So will we be able to even hear what's going on in the case? And will we have time? Will we get that list so we can be attentive to what we're supposed to look for?
Mm-hmm. So for sure, as far as the length, so in criminal courts, these cases take about 5 to 7 minutes on average. So there definitely will, you know, be a little more time to go through this. And so on the original form, there are like red asterisks next to certain questions. I mean, if you can get those, like that would be helpful. But like there are some that are, you know, not mandatory that you get because sometimes a case may just get rescheduled and it might not even be, you know, worth taking anything down from that. But just collecting as much information as you can. And yeah, and again, those will be about 5 to 7 minutes. In regard to the audio, we will be able to hear for sure. The audio is just projecting through the laptop. So, you know, just at the volume of your laptop, that's, you know, that's the only thing that'll, well, that's what determines it pretty much.
Okay.
I mean, I could also add, in the newer form, there is actually a question that asks, is the judge audible? Because we have recognized that in the past, people have had trouble hearing judges, which is horrible because you should be able to understand what the judge is saying. It's a judge. So yes, we are addressing these concerns. And yeah, good points.
For
How
sure.
about getting, that list so we know what to look for?
The evaluation form or the list of judges?
The evaluation form.
Yes, so everyone will receive that after the training, but actually, in a less formal email, I can just give you all the link in the chat if you all would like to take it from there for the time
Okay.
being.
All right.
Here we are. Right, so that is the link to the form. that we just discussed? Sure. Oh, do you have another question? Are the judges aware that they're being watched when we're there? So the criminal courts on 26 in California, no, because those are YouTube live streams. But for, let's say, the Daily Center, the Zoom, you'll have access to like the Zoom link and all of that. Maybe a possibility of you being in a court, like in a Zoom similar to this, as an entire case is happening. Aaron.
Hi, I just had a question about the new form. It seemed like with the old form, you would submit that after each case was decided. Is the new form more like after your shift is over, or is it still after every case?
Because when watching the Zoom recording, we had a lot of trouble actually figuring out when a case would end, because sometimes like they start a case or they try to start a case and someone wouldn't be there because Zoom court is crazy. And it was difficult to see when a case would start and end. So we are hoping with the new form, it would just be like the time spent observing one judge, that collected would be one form, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, it does. I have one more question also about the new form. It seemed like on the old form, it was a lot of like data points that were being collected, like amount of time sentenced in jail or things that were said in the court. And in the new form, I don't know if you showed us the whole thing, but it seemed like more judgment calls kind of for the court watcher to make about fair and impartial. Is there like more guidance on what we're looking for, or is that just something we sort of have to make up, like decide for ourselves?
The questions are hopefully simple enough to where like any person can decide whether a judge is acting in an I guess impartial or respectable way. We want like judges to act in ways that are perceived as like respectable to normal people, because it's normal people who are coming to the courts. So it really is in many ways a kind of your judgment call on what you see as respectful or not respectful. Now, of course, we're not going to like, we recognize that there will be outliers, and what some people interpret as respectful, other people will not. So we're not going to, I guess, super go into a judge who only has like one response that's like not respectful. But if like a continual observance shows that they keep getting this not respectful evaluation, that's when we will like start looking at a judge. If that makes that helps.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks so much.
For sure, for sure. Thank you for the questions. Are there any other questions that folks have? All right, cool. So that will complete the court watching training for this afternoon. Again, you all will be receiving a list of the judges and the courtroom numbers. Ooh. Oh, sorry. I'm here to check this out on behalf of Chicago Alliance Against Racism and Political Repression. Can I share with the group? Sure. Mary, sorry, I don't want to pronounce the name wrong.
Yes, hi. Marin.
Marin. Okay, for sure. Wait, I'm sorry. I'm here to check. Oh, okay, sorry, I read the question wrong. Okay, for sure, for sure. So yes, if there are no other questions, that does complete the training for this afternoon. One more time, you will be receiving a list of the judges. The evaluation form has been dropped in the chat, but I will also be providing everyone with that again, as well as the shift sign-up form. And then attached to this will be the schedule. And Aziz and I are definitely available to answer any questions about the schedule or access to the courtrooms at any point, Monday through Friday. And as Katrina just noted in the chat as well, the training will also be on YouTube in case anyone needs a refresher on anything that we covered today. So with that being said, thank you again, everybody, for attending. And we are looking forward to collecting these data and holding these judges accountable.